The Shadow's Valentine. Valentine's Day had always been a reminder of loneliness for Nora. She spent it quietly, curled up with a book and a cup of tea, avoiding the world of roses and romance. This year was no different, until she noticed a small, neatly wrapped package sitting on her doorstep. There was no card, just a black ribbon tied around crimson paper. Curious, she brought it inside and carefully unwrapped it. Inside was a delicate heart-shaped pendant, darker than obsidian, glinting eerily in the light. A note fell out. "For you, from me." Frowning, Nora glanced around her empty apartment, a chill creeping over her. But the pendant was strangely beautiful, and despite her unease, she clasped it around her neck. That night, as she brushed her teeth, she noticed something odd. Her shadow on the bathroom wall moved slightly out of sync, just a fraction of a second too slow. She blinked, shook her head and laughed nervously. "I need more sleep." But the following days brought stranger occurrences. Her shadow lingered in mirrors even after she walked away, its shape stretching and distorting. At times, she swore it whispered her name, a soft echo in the dark corners of her apartment. Her phone buzzed with text messages from people she hadn't spoken to in years, messages she didn't remember sending. Friends asked why she'd reached out at odd hours, her words oddly poetic, filled with longing. One morning she woke to find her kitchen table set for two, her shadow seated opposite, its dark form flickering in the candlelight. Nora stumbled backward, heart pounding. "This isn't real," she whispered. The shadow tilted its head, mimicking her movements. Then it stood, a dark figure rising from the floor, and took a step forward. "I've been alone just like you," it murmured, its voice like a cold wind through empty hallways. "But now I have you. We're the same." Terrified, Nora clawed at the pendant around her neck, desperate to remove it. But it burned against her skin, the clasp fused shut. The shadow smiled, a dark, twisted reflection of her own expression. "You accepted my gift. Now I can be you." As the days passed, Nora's reflection grew dimmer, her shadow bolder. It walked in her place, lived her life. Her friends remarked on her newfound confidence, the mysterious allure that clung to her like perfume. But inside, Nora screamed, trapped behind her own eyes, watching helplessly as her shadow took over, stealing her voice, her movements, her very essence. When her shadow finally took over, the pendant finally came loose. She became her shadow, and her shadow became her. Then she hears a whisper, "Your turn." She gasped and looked at the pendant that is now wrapped in crimson paper and tied with a black ribbon. When the next Valentine's Day came, she placed the heart-shaped pendant on someone's doorstep, carrying a note that reads, "For you, from me."